Good up.
This is Channel 253.
On this episode of the Grit and Grain Podcast.
The whole article is him making a couple valid points, and he says something like that, and I'm like, you're a fucking dweeb.
No, he does continually drop dumb bombs.
Yeah. But,
there's no question about it.
My 16-ounce can's never gotten warm. Just saying.
Yo!
I mean, come on.
Channel 253 is member supported. I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I hope you will show your support by going to channel253.com/membership and join. Thank you.
Welcome to the Grit and Grain Podcast, where we explore and celebrate the craft beer industry, community, and history in Tacoma, Washington, and surrounding Pacific Northwest areas. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grit and Grain Podcast. Coming to you guys from Peaks and Pints in Tacoma, Washington.
Damn it.
Oh, listen, all those people. Thanks for coming, Paul. Thanks for hanging out. My name's Matt McLaren. I'm here, as always, with Ron Swarner.
Hello.
How's it going, Ron?
Well, I'm holding up, Matt. I spent all morning trying to figure out if our podcast logo is clutter, noise, or Comic-Con merch.
Got it. Got it. You guys will too soon.
Okay. Yeah.
You will also.
That's pretty good.
Which is it?
No, I
can't decide. Except the New York Times sucks.
Oh.
That's what I came up with.
That article sucks.
I know. We're going to talk about it. Our resident pro brewer and line cleaner, Bethany Carlson's on the mic. What's up, Bethany?
What's up?
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Great. Good.
Great.
I like your 60s sweater.
Thank you.
That was an awesome sweater.
Thanks. It's from the thrift store.
I was going to say, I heard Doug say that was a thrift shop.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a...
She scores. Every time she
smoking
walks in
come
here,
up
she's
at the
got
thrift
some...
store.
I have a problem, though. I
You
shouldn't
don't have
go
no
as much.
problem because you dial
you're
in the
doing
best
it.
No
stuff.
problem. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Affirmation.
She's like, tell Rear.
Luckily, I only spend $20 at a time, so it's not really breaking the bank.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Phaedra, how's it going?
Good.
Thanks for being on mic.
Thank you. I brought you treats.
You did?
Yeah.
What are those? Oh, yeah,
Mahalo.
from Hawaii. Jeez.
Aloha.
Aloha.
So I thought it's a Hawaiian macadamia nut butter toffee, and it's
Addicted,
delicious.
I'm
Just
sure it is.
smell it. It's really good.
Oh, my
So-
gosh. Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, it's... And at, late at night when you're drinking your Mai Tai
I
or
can
your
smell it from
whatever
over
you're
here.
having, it's...
Or your barley wine.
It's a nice little delicious, so anyway, help
Sweet.
yourselves. So, yeah.
That's lovely. I'm going to try not to eat that whole bag while we're sitting here. Doug, thanks for being on mic.
Holy Mountain Street King, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I was going to ask. We're not there
Thanks
yet.
for asking.
Oh, it's time for a break.
So I was going to tell we are Sans guests today, but it gave us a chance to hang out, catch up with each other, have a beer, and talk about an article that came out in the New York Times about a month ago now, I think. We haven't had a chance to talk about it because we've been too busy interviewing Congress people and going to the Craft Brewer Summit and things like that.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get back to
big deal.
yeah, no big
Bullshit.
deal. Regularly scheduled programming that will get us just as much hate mail. So, however, before we get into all of that, hey, it's Dave Merville. What's up, man? Sorry. Yeah, that's anyway. So anyway, what are you guys drinking? Doug, I know what you're drinking.
It's time for a fuck-up story.
Yeah, no kidding. Phaedra's
I've got
drinking
agua.
water.
Yes.
All right, good for you.
Yeah. Rehydrating.
I got the silly named Wormhole from Fort George. And what's the Japanese brewery? UCHU.
It's Uchu, is how it's pronounced, but I don't know much about them, actually.
either.
I walked in, I was going to Google them, and then I didn't. But yeah, it's this is a great fucking beer.
Yeah, it's delicious and super fun named.
It's a collab.
Mm-hmm. Is it the Hood to Fuji collab? Is that part of the series?
I believe so.
Okay.
Don't quote me.
All right, I'm not going to quote you.
Thanks.
It's an IPA, though. It's good.
It's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I have the Bale Breaker Dust Bound.
Nice.
Hazy IPA. It's delicious.
Dude.
It's really nice.
Didn't Bailbreaker just win? Sip Awards just got posted.
Oh, did they?
And I think Bailbreaker took a gold or a platinum. Theirs goes all the way up to platinum in, I think, an IPA category. But it might have been for hazy.
That's awesome.
I'll have to
Yeah.
double check.
This is
But yeah,
super fresh.
love seeing Sip Awards. We were gushing about health. There's an NA category for Sip and self-care, who, if you guys remember, Aaron was on back in dry January. Self-care took 4 of the 5 medals in their category.
Wow, really?
Which is
That's
insane.
awesome.
It might be the biggest sweep I've ever
guys.
seen.
Yeah, 4 out of 5.
I
That's
mean,
great.
and it is the best NA out there.
Yeah.
It is the best tasting.
For sure.
Wow.
I love talking to Aaron about, because like we work with self-care, and I love talking to Aaron about like the stuff that he's like, yeah, I'm brewing a double dry hop double IPA that you can pick up next week. And I'm like, am I in an NA beer? Like, is that, it's like hard to even picture that it's an NA beer, but he just says it like it's just a beer. And then you try it and you're like, yo, this is actually a
Just
double
like
IPA.
O'Doul's.
Yeah.
He treats his NAs like he treats all of his other beer with great
Yeah.
care.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
There's no,
that's true. No discrimination
yeah,
against his NA
It's like
beers.
your children. It's like treat them all equally.
I know.
Can't pick favorites.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so if you guys didn't see it, I feel like it made the rounds in like the craft beer
It
nerd
did.
circles pretty hard.
Yeah.
But I would say a now infamous article got posted in the New York Times about how silly names and wacky labels were what is killing the beer industry.
And IPA.
Went after
And there was a few other
They went
things.
after tall boys.
What's it called?
It's an incredible simplification.
Are you looking up the article name?
And
I
it
am.
was an opinion
Yeah.
piece, though,
That
right?
was the title of
Yeah.
the article.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that was the whole thesis, but the title of the article, that was the
It's like wacky labels.
It was a Beatty.
yeah,
something.
there was a list of things, but I mean the reason that it kind of became infamous was because some of the examples he used were like pretty dated. Some of like the stuff that he mentioned was like pretty demonstrably like untrue in a way, or like there's the
offensive. I felt offended the whole time I read it.
Downright wrong.
Yeah, wrong. Like just very tone deaf. Kind
Yeah,
of, like
so there was-
and dated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking
And not
about,
a
like,
deep dive on economics either.
That was like the part for me where I was like, dude, you could have Googled this pretty easily
Totally.
before writing some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I will say that like I found some truth in it. There's definitely like a couple of
for sure.
chunks where it's like, okay, this is legit. Doug actually said that he agreed with a bunch of it, or at least the majority of it.
Well, yeah.
So I'd love to like dig
lot of
into
it.
that. Because I do think it's easy for like us four, and most of our guests to like neglect consumer perspective sometimes. We make beer for ourselves. The jokes, like some of the jokes are inside jokes, and we probably don't think about how some things appeal to regular consumers. And if he's writing it from that perspective, then there's probably some benefit to like trying to consider, what he's talking about.
But like any art, like the artist isn't thinking about what everyone else is gonna like, right? They're like, I'm an artist and I'm doing what I think is
Right.
great and I like.
All right.
Kind of.
Yeah,
right?
that's the same thing with the craft beer.
Yeah, I
He
think-
generalized it.
Well,
So
but there
here's where-
are perspectives. Let's put it that way.
As somebody who works with all of those artists, and they all require me to sell a certain amount of it so that they don't starve, I have pushback on that specific idea.
Yeah.
Because like if somebody keeps coming to me and they're like, hey, here's a piece of art I made, and I'm like, hey, there's like 9 people who will buy this art, and you need to sell 20,000 arts in order to survive.
Exactly.
So can we make something like, here's other stuff that people are doing that's selling a lot. Could you do something kind of like this, but like still not sell this one? Sell as much of it as you can, or I'll die. And so I get that
No,
every single
I get
week.
that too. I understand.
But also, you're totally right. But that's also probably the disconnect between like our perspective and consumer perspective. So
It's funny, though.
you guys all read it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
Read it again
The-
this morning.
the last one they did was 2017.
The last article about craft beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, it was
Been
that
that
long
long?
ago. Yeah.
Jeez.
It's titled, Is This Last Call for Craft Beer? 2017.
Weird.
Yeah.
You could have just redone it.
Yeah. They just changed the title.
Yeah, same article.
So did you read? I didn't go back and read the 2017 one. Did
I
you
didn't
open it?
either,
Okay.
but Jim Koch wrote it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's more interesting.
And it was more about big beer and antitrust.
Sure.
This one was about labels and tall boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also at the top
Amazing.
of it, it's not a hard news story. It's opinion
It's an
guest
opinion,
yes.
essay.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
an important thing to point out in this.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
true, but it is like
There was editors looking at it.
a bunch of people that did have Google on their phones. I think the major pushback. So like Kendall from Washington Beer Blog wrote a fantastic response.
So did Jeff Allworth.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the current chief economist for the Brewers Association also did a great response. And all of them kind of had the basic there's lots of valid stuff in here, but there is stuff that doesn't really speak to the contemporary beer world or market.
Yeah.
And it's such a big publication that it's really easy for people to just take that opinion or that article from such a high tiered outlet and then just kind of run with it, even though some of it might be misleading to the realities of the industry.
But I've heard this being completely dismissed in the same way that this title is inflammatory. And I don't think either of those is really valid.
I agree.
mean, there's stuff in there that makes sense. There's stuff in that doesn't make sense.
I totally
You
agree.
can't just... I would think it would be unwise to completely disregard it.
They claimed that beer consumption is the lowest in decades. Young people aren't drinking beer. Remote work killed the after-work pints. Tap room traffic hasn't fully recovered from COVID. And hard seltzers and RTDs are stealing the share.
So there's a lot of truth in that list. But it also, didn't tell the full story, I would say.
Yeah. I agree.
But I don't know. I guess, Ron, you run a tap room. Has traffic bounced back since pre-COVID, 2019?
Not all the way.
Okay. So that's probably a reality
Yep.
that most people have noticed.
Yep.
But listing those things out and then also being beers have too high of an ABV, or the labels are too wacky,
Yeah.
or there's too many IPAs, when you just said the things that are actually probably the main contributors, is also weird.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
they also
But
say some people should make new lagers, and then they say which some do, which are being done, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, it's
yeah.
like-
It kind
Yeah.
of reeled back immediately.
Yeah.
It is arguably the greatest time to be a lager-focused brewery right now. We're probably hitting what feels like the peak of the demand for that. I work with a bunch of very talented lager brewers, some of whom are Wayfinder or Chuckanut alums, some of whom went to Siebel, and there's just so much good lager right now, especially in the
But
Northwest.
10 years ago, you go in a place
seeing
that has a limit of taps, and
Yep.
you've got zillions of IPAs, and you just want something that isn't.
Totally.
Even the pale ale was super hopped, and it's can I get ink?
Right.
A Pilsner? In this? Now, this is 10 years
Yes.
or however many years ago.
Right.
But it's called Glitter Unicorn.
Which I felt personally slighted by that because I sold that beer. I was like, "You son of a bitch!"
I
Is
felt
that sort of like Goldschlager? Is that something?
It was like a pink sour that had edible shimmer.
it
is what
did
they
have
call
some-
it.
okay.
Yeah. So you shook it up.
Well, my offensive sentence was make labels that tell drinkers what's inside, not just what's funny at 2 a.m. in the brew house.
Yeah.
A little snarky.
Come on,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
And
snarky.
sometimes those are good ideas, okay? But also,
Also, you're looking through the window at that label. Because you're outside now.
that's not what happens in the brew house at 2 a.m. And
Unicorn farts. Okay, that was actually one point where I did think that there was validity to that, but the difficult thing, and this was actually part of the rebuttal from oh my god, who's the economist from Brewers Association? It's gonna drive me
It
crazy.
was Bart.
No, it's not anymore because he's
know. He's the head honcho.
I know.
And a good hugger.
Always been.
That's right, Ron hung on with him. So tell drinkers what's inside the beer instead of like naming it something crazy. There is validity to that, and we've talked about that before. Is like beer labeling kind of has. There's two roads that you can go down. One is like the art-focused road and like funny references and things like that, and then one is kind of just like being really direct about what it is. So you can kind of see those exemplified between like brew hosts and then like Gold Dot. Gold Dot is just one big gold circle, and then it says Helles Lager underneath it. And then brew hosts, I could not tell you what was in that can if you put a fucking gun to my head. Right. But they're awesome and like super artistic and like gorgeous labels. And you know who that brewery is. If you're familiar with brew hosts, you would recognize that label anywhere. But it still doesn't tell you what kind of beer is in the can. So the way that like it seems like most people prioritize how they shop for beer, especially if they're not familiar with like the region that they're in or the breweries that they're looking at. So if I go into like a place like Ron's and I'm looking at the shelf, the number one thing that I care about is the kind of beer that I'm in the mood for.
Right.
So if I can see like 5 cans on the shelf that say, Pilsner, and I know I want a Pilsner, well, I'm gonna look at those 5 cans. Right. And then I might go like, which one has the coolest label? Which one has like the cleanest design? Because that might speak to the actual quality inside the can. Which one has like a funny, relatable name? All those things are like secondary really to the actual style of beer. So if somebody makes a great Pilsner but doesn't say Pilsner on the can and I'm not familiar with that brewery and I don't know that brewery makes great Pilsners, I don't really care what the label looks like because my priority is a Pilsner. So there is like validity to that, but there's also like a middle ground between like the idea that it's only inside jokes from like inside the brew house and then saying Pilsner on the can.
You're speaking from the perspective of a serious insider in the industry. You know, you say, I do this, I do this, I do this. You're talking from your perspective. If you're somebody who likes craft beers and walks up to a cooler and sees essentially a melange of colors and shapes and doesn't have time to Google it if they're not intimately familiar with everything that's going on and don't have the time to go through every fucking thing that's up there and you just want to grab something that appeals to your fairly developed taste, it can be a shit show.
Totally. Yeah. So the example that I give about like why there's some truth to just saying what's inside the can is specifically like that group of consumer who might not be familiar with every single thing.
And they may be fairly, they might have fairly developed taste and some knowledge too. I don't think necessarily be idiots. I think there'd be people who are into craft beer and just not as far inside to recognize every brand and thing that's on the shelf.
Sure.
Yeah. What percentage? And it's a spectrum, but like what percentage are the nerdy ones?
No, I think
that's a large percentage.
I've spent the last, maybe, when did I start this? Probably 2.5 years ago. I've told the story about going to CBC and talking to like the Blue Moon marketing team and then not really having an answer as to like what design elements can help a single can stand out on the shelf in like a very crowded, shelf space. And they didn't know how to answer it because they just weren't dealing with that sort of thing. Essentially, since then, I've been asking people like how they prioritize picking beers off of shelves if they're not familiar with them. So like that's nerds who travel to different areas and there's a bunch of stuff they don't recognize. But it's also like I have a bunch of like my wife's teacher friends who they like beer but they don't they're not dialed in the way that any of us would be. And so they're like I prioritize this. I prioritize this. If it's a funny label, I might do this. And so I've probably asked, I don't know, maybe 180 people now at this point.
180.
I'm over the last like 2 or 3 years, probably. I ask people all the time, and I have a lot of the answers and like data down, but it's pretty consistent where about 60% really care about what's inside the actual, like what style of beer it is. That's the number one priority. Yeah. I just want to know what style, I just want to know if I'm in the mood for this beer and I want to know which can has that. Yeah. And then the second is like the label design, if it has a cool label. That's like 20 to like 10 or 20 to 25%. Yeah. And then the last bit is like if it has like a funny name or is relatable. Okay. And that's for a beer that you're not familiar with at all.
And this is for people not in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, like, not familiar is like a spectrum of people. There's people who, like, you could be a nerd and be like, I don't know shit about Arizona breweries, but if I was down there shopping for beer, this is probably how I would prioritize it. I know that I want an IPA or I want a hazy IPA from like a local brewery. If I see a bunch of cans and 3 of them say hazy IPA and 3 of them are just cool artwork on cans that I don't see hazy IPA, I might look at them if the artwork is cool, but like my priority is the style. So it's kind of the same for anybody who's here but isn't super into beer. The idea is that like they have their sort of decision-making priorities if they're not very familiar or tuned into the industry, and that is kind of how they're prioritized. And it seems to be like pretty consistent across like nerds who are in like unfamiliar areas and don't know what the breweries are, and people anywhere who just aren't as dialed in.
Hey, Matt, what do groceries think? Do they want clarity?
Grocery stores?
Yeah.
So I don't work with huge chain grocery, and they don't necessarily need clarity because people aren't buying beer at grocery based on clarity.
But it's the general public.
It is the general public. Sales at grocery has a lot more to do with like availability and like marketing than it does like a discerning person. Like, you know, I don't know. A lot of us would probably not. Like if we were out grocery shopping and we know we wanted to like bring beer to an event, it's probably likely that we would just make a second stop at like Peaks on the way to the event and like grab beer. If we're grabbing like a 12er and we're at the grocery store, we would probably grab something that we were like familiar with enough to know that it's good and I could probably get it safely at a grocery store.
Also, if you're at the grocery store, you're most likely buying a 6 or a 12 pack, right? Or a 4 maybe. But and in that case, the labeling has more information on it. Usually,
Cardboard packaging.
The cardboard packaging tells you what is in the 6-pack or 12-pack, as opposed to a bunch of single things on the shelf.
And so does the end cap with all the wackiness.
Well, that's right where I go. That's where I go. To the end caps.
Look at Donna does excellent work at end caps.
Dude, yeah.
But you can do both things, right? You can have a funny name or a funky design or whatever, and just also prioritize that your logo is prominent, so people know what your logo looks like or whatever.
Right.
They can find it.
The idea of a funny name is
and then you
End
can
of
say
conversation.
the style. Also, I mean, you can do all the things. It's the ones that just rely on, you know, just this obscure, weird name or whatever, and you just have
I come into the cooler here, and
fruit.
I'll come in and I'll get 6. I'll come in and get 6, and I'm just going across. And when I get to the ones that are just like, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Totally.
I move to the ones that I understand what's going on.
It's like advertising.
Yeah,
you want
that's
white
true.
space and 7 words.
There you go.
So here's the
or even an image that has maybe something to
Yeah.
do with the style, sort of.
So one of the rebuttals was the difficult
doesn't
thing about like, so Ron's wearing a Sierra Nevada shirt right now. Just calling something pale ale is an idea that's like really tough these days. Like, you know, unless you are Sierra Nevada who named it fucking first, like it's hard to just be like, okay, this is like Georgetown Pale Ale, this is Larrabee Pale Ale, this is Weissbier Pale Ale. There's all these tiny breweries, and there is like some cachet with the actual name, but the pushback on this was like, it does become really tough to do that. You might know you want a pale ale, but if everybody just calls it pale ale and you don't know anything else about any of these breweries, then maybe one that does make a funny reference that you get and is like silly or whatever, that might be the decision maker. And so it's not really that like, that's like the checkmate in terms of all this, but it's like, what can any brewery do to set themselves apart?
Sure.
Silly Manny.
Silly Manny. Yeah. Make it legible without having to wear reading glasses.
Yes.
Kidding.
So this is another big one. And so this is another one that we have talked about. I know we're harping on the label thing a lot. But like Blind Tiger, absolutely major, you know, branding company that manages all kinds of breweries. You can see in their rebrands over the last few years that like more and more of the can space is used just to write the style of beer on there, mostly so you can read it from however far away you're standing without reading glasses. And so that's a part of it. So like this is one where like, I don't know, there's not a ton of breweries in general distribution that are even doing this. It's like you have to be going to like Ron's place or to Pint D or something like that, where it's like a bunch of small independent bougie breweries that I sell or that, you know, sell themselves, self-distribute, are bringing their really specific references or funny things to the shelf. And grocery, you're probably not going to find anything like that because it's just marketed so different.
But the breweries are also having fun with the barcodes. They're so damn small because they don't want to interrupt their artwork.
Yeah.
And you can't scan the goddamn thing.
So much.
So it's just typing in.
I have to print so many fucking UPC stickers on like I printed on shipping paper, like UPS shipping paper, and I have to cut them and go stick them on cans because they won't scan at grocery.
I'll tell you, purple and black does not work, everyone.
Yeah, or
Transparent UPCs don't work at all.
Or black on super dark gray.
Yeah,
or what,
stop doing that shit.
It's just frustrating.
Okay, so the IPA arms race was another chunk of this. So let me,
Craft beer is overdid hops, too many double, triple, quadruple IPAs, too much bitterness, too much ABV. People want refreshing beer, not 12% palate assault.
what was his example? What beer was his example?
I can't
of
remember.
120 minutes.
Oh, yes.
Dogfish had 120-minute IPA.
Yeah, because everybody drinks that.
17%.
Everybody.
Yeah, it's like enough with these 17%. Because
they're everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
So here's where I don't know where Robicheaux is located, but if he's on the East Coast, which I presume he is, there is some validity to that because there is a lot of East Coast breweries that do still make like big beers. I work with 12% imports, and I bring triple IPAs in from those guys all the time because people do like them and breweries over there.
Triple IPAs.
Milkshake, yeah. Who's still buying / making milkshake IPAs? Well, it turns out these like few Midwest and East Coast breweries are still doing that. Yeah. So it could be that the market on his side is a bit more saturated with that stuff, but it is tough to imagine that if Dogfish Head 120 is his like frame of reference here, that he's really looking at shit like Abomination or Nightmare or like other very contemporary brands. Yeah. I cannot remember the last time I had 120-minute anywhere near my face.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys.
Probably every year.
Do you?
Not right now. That's not in.
Yeah, I mean,
I think I still have one buried in my backyard.
I guess is what I'm saying. It's available for sale sometimes, but
And I followed up with Worldwide Stout. I just, keep cannibal.
it's not flying off
A
the
Dogfish
shelves.
bomb.
Yeah. People don't come in.
And it's about break time too. So.
Okay, well, I'm going to finish this.
Yeah.
Here's what got me is this is where his perspective, like he's talking about a bunch of stuff that does seem like industry insider type of information, but then he says things like beer isn't bourbon, it's not meant for sipping, it's not meant for like, dude.
Yeah, and that's where excuse you.
Yeah, that to me is like, there's a huge spectrum of ways to enjoy a beer,
Absolutely.
but one of the absolute best ways is to
sip
like
it.
sip like a room
like a bourbon.
You're missing out. What's his last name? Robicheaux?
That does defend his 12-ounce can argument, though.
It does defend it
Yeah, sure.
for like a smaller serving of like a higher ABV.
Small
ones are
serving of
shareable.
anything that you're sipping.
I guess.
A 16-ounce can of everything. I don't know.
We can talk about that.
Jury's still out.
Yeah,
On 12-ounce, 15% beers.
Yeah, it is.
The whole article just basically made me feel a little cuckoo, a little nuts. I was like, wait, what?
Am I wrong about everything?
My whole reality. It's like, interesting. We'll talk more about it.
We will, yeah. We're going to take a super quick break and pop this non-bourbon beer open.
Shareable,
This
quaffable, right?
Yeah.
This guzzler.
Anyway,
We're just gonna
hang out for a second. We'll be right back.
This is Eric Hanberg with Channel 253.
I'm Doug Mackey.
And Doug Mackey asked to keep this short. So here it is. $4 a month, $40 a year, supports Channel 253. Go to channel253.com/membership.
More so, we'd like to thank our members, especially our long-time members.
Now it's too long.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for hanging out during the break. As always, a quick shout out to Doug, our wonderful producer, for making us sound awesome every single week. And please do go check out Channel 253.
I'm sipping a very strong ale.
Over your
like a
microphone.
bourbon.
Oh wait, you don't have the barley wine yet.
No,
I don't. I'm going to get them confused.
shout out to Chris for putting us on video every single week.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, dude. Yeah. Please go check out Great and Great Podcast on YouTube and follow us on Instagram because those are getting funnier and funnier if you don't already.
Yeah, they're hysterical.
I'm like here for all of the things that happen, and then I watch it and I'm like, like it just makes me fucking crack up.
Yeah.
So yeah, please do go follow us on Instagram and YouTube. And then extra shout out to Kendall at Washington Beer Blog. We've quoted him a couple of times in this podcast because he wrote a response to the article we're talking about.
That was a great.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think he mentioned something about Barley Pop's anniversary party coming up soon.
he did. Yeah. First year anniversary, which is love seeing a brewery celebrate a first year anniversary right now. Speaking of things killing the craft beer industry. We left it off talking about the label stuff. Obviously, you harped on that for like half the episode. But before we get to all that, what are you guys drinking? Ron poured us barley wine.
Reuben's three
sorry.
Riseman from this year, the 2025.
Fucking delicious. Needs no time at all. It's like perfect.
Ready to go.
Oh man. Let's try it with some of Phaedra's
Oh, man.
Tastes like frankincense.
So
You
good.
just
You just gave me
Smack
another
on
reason
this
to eat
and-
more of that.
I know, right?
snack on this
Getting a
toffee
little myrrh.
into the mic.
Awesome.
So tasty. Wow. Yum.
Hello.
Okay, so Doug over the break, like, made a good point, and I feel like is one of the points that that he was making in the article. Like, IPAs are too crazy, they're too bitter, they're too boozy, all that, and like, your take was the big bitter, like crazy IPAs are just like, you know, that's for the nerds. Like we're you know, too dug in to really understand why those are unappealing to like general consumers.
Too dense.
Yeah.
Does not compute.
I think it would be if somebody, especially if somebody, a neophyte just coming in and you know, IPAs are mostly what they're seeing up there, so they order an IPA, might get a little shocked by it.
So I feel like this is an interesting one, and this is like this is a consumer perspective thing that I feel like the consumer perspective doesn't, not to any fault of their own, but doesn't necessarily align with like the realities of the industry today. It has been a while, in my opinion, since like a big, overtly bitter, like very sweet IPA has been like the center stage of the industry or like that style.
Yeah.
Like when I think of that, I think of like big Lagunitas IPAs or like big Stone IPAs. Like that was
not necessarily sweet.
but like
sweetness is part of this equation in terms of what's going on.
man, I feel like balance is like such a major pursuit of like most acclaimed IPA brewers these days, and like freshness, and
Right.
those things were not a priority for the last, I mean, really up until like 2022 almost.
Yep.
Like,
Okay.
you know, and what's also really interesting about this is like that pursuit is like that pursuit of like the highest IBUs. I was just making fun of people who ask for IBUs in their beers. Highest IBUs, highest ABV, all like that race did exist.
Yeah.
But I feel like it stopped like almost pre-pandemic. It was like starting to really wane. And you had like
Did it stop and set a higher threshold at which it now exists?
I think hazy IPA
I think hazy's
saved us from COVID, or saved beer during COVID.
Yeah.
sure.
I think that's when the bitterness, all that started changing too. Was with
I
hazy
agree with
IPAs,
that.
So like 2000, what year?
Well, I don't know. Tropic Haze was like Tropic Haze, Jumbo Juice. There was like early iterations. I mean,
10
like
years ago.
Nog.
2015.
10 years ago?
16.
So you had breweries trying to replicate that, and they like these beers. It's funny because like New England hazies are still pretty bitter. Like they're much more bitter than like, you know, a hazy that you might find really popular in the Northwest. But it did change how people approached IPAs. For the longest time, it was just kind of a race for like the craziest flavor, the most bitter.
Yeah, kind of like a hot sauce dare is what I liken it to. You
Totally.
know, like can you handle that wing? How about that wing?
Right.
You know, I mean, it's,
Okay,
It's-
that's totally true.
Yeah,
It's also-
Lagunitas for sure.
Yeah, and the more you have, just like with hot stuff, the more you have it, the more you,
You're like desensitized.
yes, with
Yeah.
bitterness.
But I feel like, so like I have people tell me now who are like, I hate IPAs. I can't stand IPAs. When was the last time you had one? I don't know, like 10 years ago?
When I got
well,
to-
fuck.
Right.
They're so different now. But I don't blame you not liking them because when that was a huge thing, it did kind of fuck everybody up because all the IPAs were already super bitter. They were all going to grocery stores where people weren't really buying beer at any kind of clip. And so you would get one or somebody would bring one to like at the barbecue and they're like, oh, try this Stone IPA. And it's 9 months old and it's like crazy bitter because we just didn't understand. Like we were still fine tuning our understanding of like how hops actually interact in beer. And
9 months old. Ugh.
yeah, no, dude, totally. I mean, we've all fucking had it. So like your idea of like what an IPA tastes like, is just straight oxidation. I've had people tell me this is like what I've had them try old IPA in front of me, and they're like, oh, this is like what I think of when I think of IPA, and it's just cardboard. It's just bitter cardboard. That sucks. But I don't know. Maybe it's like that era of like craft beer turned off a bunch of drinkers, and now they just don't trust it because they're like, why is everything IPAs? Why is everything this very unpleasant, thing that I tried a long time ago? But now it's like so refined. IPAs are really well balanced. They're not as bitter, really, as they've ever been.
I'm just thinking of Green Flash Palette Wrecker.
Dude, yeah, that's such a good example. Or Dogfish. Yeah. Like, we boil hops for 120 minutes. Well, shit. And we add them every single minute for 120 minutes. Yeah, that's going to be the most heinously bitter thing ever. It's not going to be pleasant.
And the worst
it was
job.
like, it was like fun at the time, kind of to your point about like the hot sauce thing. It's like, it's fun. And honestly, the overlap between hot sauce nerds and beer nerds is egregious. And it's probably for that reason. But I guess if there's like somebody listening who has not had an IPA that they have liked, and it's been a long time, and they just don't try them because they don't trust them, try one now. Like go to a nerd bar, like ask what IPA is good, and try one now, because fresh, balanced IPAs are like what people really like right now.
Like this Fort George Wormhole.
Yeah. It's so good. Yeah. And this is even more bitter than like an IPA right now. This is like kind of an old school, there's like some kind of old school feel to this.
It's so drinkable, I think.
Well, and I mean, I still get okay, what do you have in the IPAs? And I'm like, I've got 5 IPAs on draft or whatever.
Right.
Do you want hazy? Do you want no? So
still pays the bills.
Right. And that's the shit.
That's what people are asking for.
So people are asking for it. And I would say that more of those people come in than the ones that don't want the IPAs, quite frankly. That's just from
so the alt beer crowd is very low.
The alt beer crowd.
It's just that number 21. It's just on the board.
Usually, I mean, there's the folks who just, I want nothing but IPAs and just give me an IPA and I really want an IPA. And then there's the people that are like, I never want to have another IPA. Again, ever. And I like all the other things. And I it's sometimes I think it's hard to find somebody who really, really, truly appreciates the whole spectrum.
Sure.
Right? I mean, those folks are out there for sure, but typically it's one or the other. And I find that there's more of the IPA, folks out there. Like you said, that's what paid the bills.
I've mentioned this too before, and I've been guilty of this, where I'm going to have one beer, I want to get a buzz, so I'll get a Space Dust or something like that, just because I know the IPA is going to be higher in volume and alcohol. And I think some people will go to IPAs, because I have been one of them, that just want something efficient, a bigger kick. And the thing that's got the 6.8 is the IPA, and it's my only choice. Is it a completely foreign concept?
No. That makes sense. What's really funny is
I'm going to be pilloried by the entire beer community after
this.
That's fine. Oh no, we'll go to the summit, and they'll be like, "Hey, Matt." There's the
I think the very specific like consumer decision that you're talking about right there is what led to like double-digit growth for 19.2 ounce cans for the last few years. It's double IPAs and 19.2 ounce cans, mostly led by New Belgium's Voodoo series, but there are other ones now.
But I think that happens when people walk into a bar.
Is they're looking for something efficient, the highest ABV beer, the only thing that's above 6.5.
If it's a 10-tap room.
Yep.
Okay. I'd say the other way around too. People go in and look for low ABV. Like if they're
sure.
If they got a long night, they're like, okay, what's between 4 and 5%?
Sure.
And then they head for Anchorage.
But you're like, if there was like a Doppelbock or like a Belgian Strong or an Imperial Stout that was still high ABV and wasn't just the IPA, then those people who are making that decision based on just efficiency.
Yeah, but I'm talking about bars where those aren't options.
Exactly.
I'm talking about your regular bar that's got, Space
Guinness,
Dust.
Heineken, might have Space Dust on.
Right. Yep. Or Bodhi or whatever.
Right. And Space Dust is kind of an unusually high ABV
they don't
beer.
tell you it's a double IPA.
Yeah, it's like an unusually, for a long time it was an unusually expensive keg. And it just happened to be, Space Dust was like was like a lightning in a bottle type of thing at a time where the IPA race was being won by fucking Steve Luke. Like he was doing the best job at it. And then AB was like, fuck, we're taking this everywhere. And I've told you guys, I've fucking been in the middle of nowhere at like a beer thing and somebody has a Space Dust hoodie on.
Right.
And they're like, oh, you're from Washington?
Yeah.
Fucking beer. And I'm like, yeah, fucking beer.
You can earn legend status.
But it's just peak craft beer to a lot of folks. And it probably, at least to some degree, stems from people like, oh, fuck, there's a 9% beer on tap. I'm going to try that. And if it's anything less than like totally unpleasant, they're like, fuck, this is my shit now.
Yeah.
So
Anchorage.
Anchorage.
Yeah. $75.
It's every brewery in Alaska makes like 10% plus beers on the regular. Because
it's dark and they're all different.
it's Alaska.
Alaska's beautiful. Anyone listening in Alaska, I live in a beautiful place.
Gabe got so bored up there, he started making chef's knives. They're gorgeous. I'm kidding, Gabe. You don't listen to this, but...
So Doug was talking about the size. You brought up the 19.
Yes.
But then the article talked about the 16 ounces versus the 12 ounces.
Ditch 16s and go back to 12s.
6-packs, 16-ounce 4-packs equals less beer than a 6-pack. You're paying more for less liquid, too much alcohol per serving. They get warm halfway through. Bring back 12-ounce beers.
You skipped a line because they don't even fit in the koozies.
Oh, that's right.
They should
Don't glaze Robicheaux here now. Rob.
Maybe he's in Arizona. Maybe he's in Arizona.
Cold.
Maybe get a different koozie.
Maybe drink it out of a fucking glass.
Right?
You absolute plebe. So he makes it's the whole article is him making a couple of valid points and he says something like that. And I'm like, you're a fucking dweeb.
No, he does continually drop dumb bombs.
Yeah. But
There's no question about it.
My 16-ounce can's never gotten warm. Just saying. Yo! Right? Come on.
Man
Don't
up.
be wrong.
Go back to the Wall Street Journal war.
Be a man.
Holy shit.
Bethany.
That's the new
Shots fired.
Yeah.
My 16-ounce can's never gotten one.
They were never about value. They were always about
we need
vibe.
that on a shirt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the new shirt. This is another one where I feel like there's a consumer market misunderstanding of where the value lies in beer. And like when he says things like it doesn't fit in the koozie or things like that, he's like still kind of putting beer as like this thing that you only drink when you're fishing or
That could almost be a joke. You have to give him the possibility that
if there wasn't like 4 examples of like a very similar similar kind of tunnel vision in the article, then I might give that
for
to him.
editors.
What
I think the koozie
precipitated the
was
change,
supposed to be
Matt?
silly.
What precipitated
I think that's
the
a good-
switch
I think
from
that's a
12
joke.
ounces to 16 ounces? Why did that
Why?
happen?
7 C's.
What?
Balls deep.
Or if it's not a joke particularly, he is putting out the guy in the boat,
It's a
fishing,
vibe.
drinking the beer.
Right. So, but this is where, like, when he says that beer isn't supposed to be like bourbon, or this beer doesn't even fit in my koozie, he's kind of lopping off a chunk of the beer world. I would say he's missing out on. This was. His name's been on the tip of my tongue this whole fucking time. But the BA Economist, his article said, like, I would really like to have a beer with Robicheaux because I actually feel like he's missing out on a lot of what makes this industry so good and so interesting and so fun. Right. And so when you see the comparison between a 6-pack lager and a 6-pack 12-ounce lager and a 4-pack 16-ounce lager, he might see like, I'm trying to think of like like Fremont versus like Gold Dot, where there's like a marked difference between like the quality and like the refinement in these two products, but all he sees is there's more ounces here than here, but this costs me $3 more, then that's a bad deal. And so he's just misunderstanding where the value is. He doesn't know that the guy behind Gold Dot is probably going to make a lager better than anything that you've ever tried. Not that Fremont can't do that, but there is like this difference, right? They're both small local breweries. One of them is a bit bigger and has a big facility and is now owned by a big company, and you just don't know that. But I feel like that comparison just ignores the fact that there's major quality differences, and all he's thinking about is size, value.
And so why does Gold Dot do a 16 ounce versus a 12 ounce?
The actual like shift in the industry, I wish I had a better answer other than the fact that like they started selling, and then the can switch in general was just better. It's better for beer, and a lot of people were going, like 22s were selling.
So it's better for beer
so much.
because...
Well, yeah, I don't understand.
Well,
Because why?
Isn't 12 ounce still king?
In terms of market statistics overall, yes. 16 ounce cans still only make up like 10 to like 12% of the overall market, but it also depends on where you're at. Your shelves do not reflect that.
No,
I was just going to go, is that true?
No, I want all the artwork.
It's true like nationally. So if you look
Got
at
it.
like Nielsen or like IRI data, then you will find that.
Yeah.
But that's also including markets that are like non-metropolitan that mostly sell 6-packs that are widely available through general distribution.
Mm-hmm.
So those statistics are really weird. And like if you've listened to this podcast for a while, you've heard us talk about like how the Northwest and like, you know, the big metropolitan cities are so different than the rest of the country in terms of the craft beer market. And this is like one of those differences. 16 ounce cans in a business like this, in an industry like this that has like a specialty, you know, segment are way more prominent than 6-pack cans, but most people still consume craft beer out of 6-pack cans.
And so is it just to compete with the 16 ounce pour that we might be pouring out of the keg, or is it? I mean, I'm just trying to. I'm just curious as to what kind of precipitated that switch to the pint size can versus the 12 ounce.
See what quality has to do with the size of the can either, frankly.
And left hand
Really?
puts the 16 ounce in the 6-pack.
What's the difference between you put a beer in a 12 ounce
quality.
can?
No,
They
no,
treat
no,
it
no,
as a
no.
Yeah, as a 6-pack. Okay.
So there's no difference in quality, like innately. So like Freem Pilsner is one of the best Pilsners ever fucking made.
Right.
It's in a
it's
6-pack.
it's in a 12 ounce can. Yeah.
But to only attribute the value difference to the amount of beer that you get between a 6-pack and a
I don't know that he's
4-pack?
doing that. I think
That's
he's
what it
just
sounds
making a
like.
point. I don't think
Frame
so
decided to go 12 ounce.
I don't think he's doing that
From
at
their-
all. He's
their
making one
500
point about
mils.
size of cans.
Yeah.
But like, if you had like,
That's not what I read.
If you have, but
Also, one other thing. I think he's trying to. I think he's attempting, whether it's wise or not, to represent a demographic that I don't think he really thinks he's a part of.
If there's anything that needs to be rebranded, it's the New York Times opinion board.
so okay,
You see what I'm saying? I mean, I'm
So like if you had a 6-pack or if you had 2 cans of like 14 hands red blend, they make cans of their red blend, and you had like a bottle of like 2008 La Joie, like one of those is a $300 bottle of wine, and if you had like a few extra cans of that 14 hands, it would be significantly cheaper. I'm paying more for less for this 2008 La Joie than I am for these 6, cans of 14 hands. But you're going to have a substantially different experience.
Yeah, but why don't you put the quality beer into the smaller can? I don't get it. Am I missing something?
That's my question too.
They can
But
help.
some do.
Just
And some
put the
do.
better beer in the smaller can. What
And
are
some
we
do.
talking about?
Like Freem is an example. Freems are 12 ounce cans.
Yeah, only
and
good
they're
beers are
quality.
16 ounces.
Right. They
What are
made
you
that
talking
decision.
about?
I'm just kind of curious as to.
Freem made that
We'll have to
decision.
ask them.
Freem made that decision, I think, as part of a decision to like expand, and with large chain grocery.
Is that what it is to be more
general? I think large
marketable
chain
in
grocery.
the groceries? 'Cause
Large
that's what
chain
people buy in
grocery
grocery stores
dictates-
are 12 ounce 6-packs.
Yeah, there is.
Got it.
I would be very surprised if anybody walked into like there's like an end cap full of 22 ounce bottles at the Safeway across the street right here.
Yeah.
And there are no 16 ounce cans on the shelf. I'd be very surprised if you walked into any Kroger, Safeway, Albertsons.
Oh, there are.
There with 16 ounce
16
cans.
ounce?
4-packs? 16? Yeah, sure there are.
Man, maybe QFCs.
Yeah,
Fred Meyer does.
Okay, Met Market is different though. Like I'm talking Met Market. I put on like smaller specialty chain retail.
Craft beer.
Yeah,
Yes,
But-
no, you're right. In Fred Meyer, there are some like
Okay.
Vortex and stuff are in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Fort George is one. Fort George is would be a good example. They have a huge production facility, and they also do 6-packs though. Fort George also has 6-pack 12-ounce.
So the 16-ounce cans, just one thought I had. So everything was in 12-ounce cans, right? Before whatever. People really got into craft beer.
And 22-ounce
then,
bottles.
So then
Yes.
the 22-ounce bottles, and then I
Yes.
think the 16 is kind of right in the middle, right? It's like a compromise.
that was
Everyone got away
compromise.
from the bottles.
Okay.
But it was
But it's
too
like, hey,
small.
we're still cool. Yeah, like we're
Too
not
small
gonna,
for double IPAs.
Well,
Yes, and like we're not Budweiser. Like this is our special beer in our 16-ounce can, right?
So
Like, this is our craft
Not big enough
beer.
for Twisted Tea, though.
here's the
And so the 16 ounce wasn't big enough until then they went to the 19.
that just started happening. That like
Right.
mostly
So
just
because
started
they got rid
happening.
of the 22s, they went to the 16, and then they
Does anybody have a fuck up?
Okay, I know Bethany does, but I feel like it's long.
we're in the middle of a conversation.
No,
We
keep
better,
talking.
we better
Okay,
get to
here's
it.
the deal: is like you also there's a multitude of reasons I'm sure, and a brewer who is way more knowledgeable about this would be able to answer better than I could. But you also have to consider the infrastructure that existed for can suppliers prior to this. There were only 19.2 16 ounces because that's what PBR and Rainier 6-packs and all those were already coming in. And then there was 12-ounce. So there was no
okay.
in between.
There wasn't an in-between.
Like
There was
nobody was going to
19.
like invent a new size of can. So,
Got it.
and you don't want to be 19.2s because why do I want my really nice beer in the same size can as like a fucking high gravity?
Right.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they realized that there was a market for that when
And then
like
they did it anyway.
when Voodoo Ranger started like really
Yeah.
crushing with double IPAs, and they're like, hey, we can make beers that people like and are also like efficient at getting people turned.
Yeah.
So it was just probably it was probably like an existing infrastructure thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the
That's
8
fair.
ounces came out, but I don't think they're faring very well.
No.
Who's got an 8-ounce?
Steeple snacks.
Steeple snacks,
Oh,
yeah.
I haven't seen that.
And then a couple
Yeah.
other folks.
Yeah, Fair Island's doing this tall, skinny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's a
Chris
couple.
said we should put a barley wine in an 8 ounce.
Yeah.
That would solve so many of these problems.
Right.
A barley wine in an 8 ounce can.
This is so interesting. I think this conversation is awesome.
I know. I could do this for longer.
Let's-
Yeah.
Over more beer.
Yeah, we'll talk with RJ a little
talking
bit
about it
more
as
about
well.
it. Yeah.
I think he's talking mostly about grocery stores and stuff. I really do. I don't think he's talking about walking into a place like
Yeah,
this.
and the general public.
Yeah.
Which is,
General public walking into grocery stores.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. But I don't know that that's what's killing craft beer. But who knows?
That is the perfect place to go to a fuck up store. You put it right together.
All right, Grit and Grainers, I'm Sean Jackson, and I fuck up all the God-blessed time, as we all do. So, please do regale us with your fuck-up stories.
There you go.
You're on, Bethany.
Bethany, what's your fuck up story?
Wait, how many do you have?
It's not me. It's never me. It's somebody else.
To be clear,
Greer.
Greer. He's not even here to defend himself,
He's
poor
not.
guy.
I told him I was going to tell the story. He went to an account this morning. We have keys to a lot of the accounts we draft line clean at, and there's a code and an alarm. He doesn't normally clean at this account, and it was dark, and he punched in the code wrong. It's going off. He's calling me. He's like,
Worse.
I was like, "This is the code." He's like, "I know, but I tried to punch it in. It's not working." And I was like, okay, so I'm frantically like calling the owner, texting the owner, like, sorry, it's just us, like, hang tight, like, it's good. And I guess the cops showed
I was
up.
just going to ask if it was one of those kinds of alarms.
And then they had like, and he was like in a beanie and had his gloves on. He's like, it didn't look good.
A bucket full of tools.
Yeah.
And a hoodie and over his
So,
head.
but they were gentle with him, I guess. So.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah, no
Poor
major
Greer.
problems.
That's
but
good.
That was this morning.
That was this morning.
That was this morning.
Yeah, and then he had other things go wrong the rest of the day.
Oh,
but
boy.
This
not
does
as
remind
fun.
me that I did this in my own workplace like less than a month ago. I set off our alarm at my office because I didn't know
get
the
it
code.
off?
Yeah, I didn't know the code changed. Nobody told me.
Oh,
I just assumed that it was the same, and then it started going off. And then my owner called and he was like, "Hey, are you at the office right now?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "The cops just called me." And I was like, the security called me and they asked if I should call the cops.
At least they're on it.
Yeah. So
Right.
And they couldn't get a hold of the owner.
to Greer's credit,
To Greer's credit, they couldn't get a hold of the owner. Neither could I. So that's why they showed up. It wasn't like the owner was like, "Yes, go down there, get that guy."
All right, Grit and Grainers.
Yeah.
Gather close, lean in, and clutch your nearest tall boy that is definitely not dying. And email us at cheers@gritandgrainpodcast.com with your comments, opinions on the New York Times rediscovering craft beer like it's an obscure religion practiced